Good morning. This is Angela with a Cup of Tea on Thursday, July 28th, 2011. I love the natural progression of the topics of these webcasts and how they're coming in. And I love that they are not planned out more than the day before when it comes to meditation. And that I haven't had an outline or anything, that is just like talked about the progression of this. And I just go back and look at the topics and think how beautifully done it is to see the natural progression and how it is beginning. We've covered a lot of the basics, and now we're getting into some more complex topics. Well, the funny thing is, when this topic came to me, I was like, is that it? And what am I going to talk about for the other 9.5 minutes? And I had to let it sort of sink in. And as it sank in, I got a whole lot more. And it was actually, it's a very beautifully, beautifully crafted message that has come through. So what came to me is this, and this is exactly how I've written down. I'm reading it right out of my journal right now. Speak your truth, be yourself, accept who you are as perfect right now. That sounds simple, doesn't it? But yet it is actually very complex in its meaning, and a lot of other things started then flashing in my mind, and just thoughts have been coming through, and it just all so perfectly, as usual, fits together. Last week I talked about living from love and living heart to heart and connecting with others. And this is like the part 2 of this. Actually, this is the prequel to what I talked about to that last week in many ways. Because accept who you are as perfect. Let's think about that. Who gives us the most judgment, the most criticism out of anybody in our lives? It's us. We're the ones who do that in our heads, in our egos. And my understanding, now you don't have to follow this understanding, excuse me. You don't have to follow this understanding. This is just mine, my belief, but it makes a lot of sense to me. And my understanding is we chose to have this entire existence, this whole existence of 3D Earth, as an experience, as experiences on what it feels like to pretend that we're separate from the divine. And when you can look at the whole of existence from that perspective, then of course we're perfect. Because, again, my understanding is we from the etheric level said, okay, this particular life, I want to experience this, this, and this. I want to see what it feels like to do this, this, and this. And I want to do it in some ways with grace and ease. I want to do it in some ways, with trauma, drama, and illness. I'm going to get to the same point, all these different dimensions, all these different timelines, but these are the experiences I want to have, and I want to really experience it to the fullest. And so therefore, I am putting on this costume. I am coming in as a female to experience this. I am coming in as this particular kind of person, as this particular nationality or race or culture or being, and I want to experience this to the fullest, and I will by putting that suit on, that costume on, which becomes our 3D bodies in this in each particular life. So of course we're perfect, because we're sparks of the divine, and all we did was we decided we're just going to pretend we pull out, we're going to create a little individual kind of soul, and we're going to have all these experiences, and then we're going to come back together and see how awesome, all these experiences assimilated are going to be. And then we'll go on to the next level of existence, or the next set of experiences. So if you look at it from that big, huge, panoramic perspective, and realize, yes, we're just putting these costumes on. We chose to have these bodies. We chose to be who we are in this particular life so that we could have this experience from this perspective, so that we could create this perspective because of the costume that we are wearing in our physical bodies. So of course we're perfect. Our egos, which I've talked about before, have been created as a sum of our experiences in this level of existence, in the 3D existence. So the perspective of the ego is completely perspective and an individual experience, and saying, well, no, we can't do this because we're limited because of this, because of this suit that we put on, because of the natural abilities that we chose to have or not to have in this particular life. So of course you can't do this, or you're not smart enough in this, or you're not good enough in this. That is the ego, and that's the experience with the ego that we've wanted to have as well. So what's the solution here? Well, thanking the ego for its job and for its existence and for showing us so much in our experience, and then just dousing it with unconditional love, and then tapping into that higher self and understanding how perfect and how divine, again, going back to that, we all are, from creating these experiences and creating this existence, and how beautifully crafted the whole thing has been, because it has accomplished exactly what we set out to accomplish. So from that perspective, when you do that, and when you can truly see the absolute beautiful beings that we all are, and when you can see actually, first of all, within yourself, and how perfect that you are within yourself, then you can start manifesting it around you. So do you understand? This is how it ties into that heart-to-heart, living heart-to-heart connection, to each other, loving and living from love, and being completely and absolutely in love with everyone in your life. Because if you can completely appreciate the experiences and the existence that you have chosen as an individual, and understand that it is as part of the divine that we have chosen this, and that we can change it at any time, and that we can and we are in control, and we can take that empowerment away from how we've set it up to be away from us and bring it back within ourselves, then we can be completely and absolutely in love with ourselves. How many times have I talked about in these webcasts about giving empowerment to others, and how we've put up these walls and we've pulled it out of ourselves, and whenever the ego says you are not blank enough, or you're too blank, that is giving the power to somebody else. Why? Because that implies that someone else is blank enough or not too blank. So when we can erase that and say, I choose to love myself. I choose to have this existence. I chose this body. I chose this perspective. And I can change it because I am the divine, and I can change everything around me. And once you can realize that love for yourself, well, then you will love everything else, because then you will see the beauty in each individual and how perfect everybody is. So then what happens is, when you create that within, accept yourself as perfect, then you create it without. You bring up the vibration to yourself with unconditional love, and you bring up the vibration to your relationships and with the people who surround you and the world around you. So you see how that happens collectively, and then that helps us in the most grace and ease to this peak of the mountain that we're all climbing for the spiritual journey, so that we can reach that Earth 2.0 that I talk about so much. And when you accept who you are as perfect, of course, then you can be yourself, and of course you can speak your truth, because then you're not afraid, because then you don't care, and you're not giving your power away to other people, and you're not afraid of what they think of you anymore, because you are awesome, you are perfect. And it is none of your business what other people think of you. It is only what you think of yourself. And I'm not talking from an egoic manner, because when you start thinking, oh, well, I'm better than this person, or I'm smarter than this person, that is a justification of somewhere in there you're thinking you need to be as smart as, or you need to be blah, 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 or you're not blank enough, or you are blanker than. That, again, is ego-based. But when you come from this completely satisfied, comfortable place, then you understand that you are the one who defines the relationships around you, instead of letting the relationships around you define who you are. We have gotten so much, and part of, again, it's thousands and thousands of years of habit-forming practice that we've had, that when we grow up, we let what's around us define who we are. The relationships around us define who we are. We let our family relationships and our love relationships, our friends, our family, our peers, our co-workers, our bosses, our communities, our countries, our world, we let them define, we let our relationship with those particular entities define who we are. But yet, if we are fully in love with ourselves and fully accept ourselves as who we are, then we define from that how we define our relationships with all others, which then again brings those relationships to the highest vibration. So think about that over the weekend. Think about whether you are letting relationships define you, or whether you define your relationships. If you are happy and fine and okay defining yourself with the highest love and highest vibration, or if you're letting those other relationships define who you are and who you can be expected to be. And you'll understand what the big difference is when you really sort of think it out. So I'm going to go on this. I'm over 11, so have a great weekend. This is Angela with a Cup of Tea.